Hello, my name is Olivia Leaving, and I'm here today at the Penderyn Whiskey Distillery in Northern Wales. I'm here with Chris Kewen, who is a tour guide at the distillery, and he's going to provide some insights about what makes Welsh whiskey unique, why Penderyn is unique, and why, if you're interested in this spirit, you should be heading to North Wales in a future itinerary. All of this and more today on Insider Travel Report. Thank you so much for being here today, Chris.
Welcome indeed.
So you are quite knowledgeble on whiskey, and specifically Welsh whiskey, as a tour guide.
On my good days.
So could you just provide some insights into the distinctive qualities that set Welsh whiskey apart from other whiskeys in the world?
Well, it's interesting to note that prior to our establishment as a company in the year 2000, there'd only been a single instance of a commercial whiskey distilling operation in Welsh history, and that was operational between 1889 and 1903 near Bala, which is about 40 miles inland from here. Sadly, that failed in 1903 due to the temperance movement in Wales. Most Welsh folk at the turn of the 19th, 20th centuries were so devout that they didn't drink alcohol at all, and if you were making it to poison your fellow devout Christians, as they all were, essentially you were seen as the spawn of the devil, so no locals would work there and no one would drink the whiskey. And that's why it went belly up in 1903. Until we got going 93 years later, no distilling of whiskey of any sort in Wales. That lack of history is a crucial point, because unlike the Scots and the Irish, who've been making malt whiskey for the thick end of 800 years, to protect their heritage, they developed very strict laws and conventions about how you have to make the spirit if you want to call it Scotch malt whiskey. Or Irish, but I focus on the Scots. An example of those conventions we choose to highlight because it's a contrast to our still technology. You've got to use a traditional double lantern pot still up there to distill your spirit, which is upscaled 17th century technology. Pretty inefficient, but that's what you've got to use. Now, contrast that with no history of distilling in Wales. There are no such laws, which means we can use unique still technology called our Faraday still, unique to us, even though any other Welsh or English distiller of malt whiskey could use this kit. We're the only people to do so. And because of the modern design of it, essentially, we can produce a flavoursome spirit at an industry high of 92% ABV with very, very few impurities in it. So it's a kind of a whiskey you can drink during the height of the summer at lunchtime with no ill effects. So that's essentially what makes our spirit unique.
Wow.
It's all about our still.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit about the process of making that still, just the very overview?
Essentially, it was designed in the mid-1970s as a doctorate project by a certain Dr. David Faraday. I'm sure you recognise the name Faraday. He is an indirect descendant of Michael Faraday, a famous Victorian physicist.
Okay.
Brand new still technology. The first one was built in the mid-1990s, just before we opened.
Okay, great. And so it does seem like there is that unique component to the Welsh whiskey specifically. So for tourists, especially from the United States, who are really interested in unique whiskeys, why should they come to Northern Wales?
Well, they don't have to come to North Wales. They could go down to Brecon to our main distillery, or down to Swansea to our third distillery we've just commissioned. But if you just want to learn how to make whiskey in a slightly different way, as I say, all other whiskey producers in the UK use traditional stills, which are relatively inefficient.
Well, that's good to know. So how do we say cheers again in Welsh?
It's Iechyd da. It means good health. Iechyd da.
Okay, Iechyd da. Well,
that might be how an Englishman would say it. Iechyd.
Iechyd da. And thank you so much for teaching us a bit about that Welsh whiskey today. And Iechyd da to you. My name is Olivia Leaving, and this is Insider Travel Report.